Hi, I'm Scott Huggins, and today I'm in the Caribbean. And I'll be snooping around some tropical hideaways, finding out how to invest in property in what most people consider paradise. The Caribbean certainly lives up to its reputation as a picture-perfect destination. Holidaymakers flock here to enjoy sun, sea and sand. The tourist season runs from mid-December to mid-April, when temperatures nudge 30 degrees Celsius. You'll have to go a long way for that sunshine though. The Caribbean is just over 4,000 miles from the UK in fact, and it'll take you between 8 and 10 hours to fly here. But once you've arrived, you'll find that there are literally thousands of islands to visit, stretching from Florida's southern tip to the north coast of Venezuela. The UK has close links with the Caribbean both socially and historically. The area is host to a quarter of all British Commonwealth countries. All of them are English-speaking, but the similarities with the UK go way beyond language.
The influences which we have predominate our political system, our educational system, even the names of our very roads, Trafalgar Street, Trafalgar Square.
Because of this shared history, buying property in the Caribbean tends to be pretty straightforward for a British person, and many islands are increasingly interested in investment from overseas.
Various Caribbean governments are taking quite a few different steps to encourage investment within their economies, particularly because in the last few years sugarcane production has fallen by the wayside because of the world sugar price being so low.
Despite its balmy climate, its British-influenced culture and its investment-friendly governments, the Caribbean isn't overrun with property investors from the UK. One reason for this is its distance from Europe, and another factor is price. The Caribbean has long been considered a playground for the super rich, and it's true that there are lots of wealthy people with multi-million-pound homes here. However, there's currently increased interest in the area because the Cricket World Cup is being held in the West Indies in 2007. Some experts predict that the host nations could make up to £300 million on the back of the tournament. And some island governments are offering incentives such as tax breaks for developers in an attempt to make sure there are enough beds for the cricket fans. So I'll be spending my time in the Caribbean visiting some of those countries in the West Indies that will be hosting the Cricket World Cup. By far the most popular of the Caribbean islands with the British homebuyer is Barbados, but its reputation as the perfect tropical destination means that properties don't come at bargain basement prices. Villas on the west coast of Barbados can go for anything from £1 million to £3 million, depending on their location and, most importantly, their distance from the sea. West Coast apartments average about £3,000 per square metre, but two-bedroom beachside pads can cost up to £800,000. On the south coast, two-bedroom apartments of a similar size to those on the west coast range from £200,000 to £350,000. And if you're after a bit of history, keep your eyes peeled for those rare period properties, but just make sure your budget is at least £2 million. Barbados lies to the east of the Windward Islands in the southern Caribbean. It's 100 miles from its nearest neighbour and is about a quarter of the size of Greater London. Flying time from Britain is just under 9 hours. The island's 60 or so miles of coastline have some of the best stretches of sandy beach in this part of the Caribbean. Unlike many of its tropical neighbours, Barbados remained under constant British rule for the better part of 350 years. It gained independence in 1966 and is now a sovereign state within the Commonwealth. Vestiges of its colonial past remain, however, and Barbados is often referred to as Little England.
It's not an island that's been fought over with the French, the Dutch, the Spanish, so it's got a far greater stable social background than some of the other islands in the Caribbean.
Although British is the predominant colonial influence on the island, the Brits weren't the only Europeans who came here. Barbados was originally named Los Barbados, which means bearded ones, by a 16th century Portuguese explorer. It is assumed that he named the island after the local fig trees, like this one, because their long-hanging roots apparently look like beards. The Portuguese also brought the knowledge of sugarcane production to Barbados. This turned out to be key to the country's development, as Barbados depended heavily on the sugar industry for centuries. In recent years, the government has been forced to diversify the economy, and Barbados now makes more money from tourism than sugarcane. However, the sugar industry has had a lasting influence on the country's landscape and architecture. This is a traditional Bajan chattel house, and they were built in the colonial times for the plantation workers, and they were designed specifically to be laid out on coral stone so they could be moved easily from place to place. Although small, chattel houses are usually perfectly formed, and such is the popularity of the island that some foreign house hunters are offering locals large quantities of money for their chattel houses. Cute as they are, chattel houses are not most people's idea of a dream Caribbean retreat. Barbados has long been seen as the place to own a fancy beachside property, and the rich and famous have been coming here for years. As a result of its long-term popularity, the real estate market in Barbados is relatively mature. So although property prices tend to be higher than on neighbouring islands, buying in Barbados is likely to be less of a gamble. And its relative wealth in Caribbean terms means it's got a well-established infrastructure.
Barbados is a very attractive place for people to retire to or to come to and buy property. It's very secure. It has a very established government based on the UK system, and people feel very happy to invest their money in Barbados.
There are no restrictions on British citizens buying property here, but you will need to go through the formality of getting permission from the Central Bank of Barbados before you buy. And you'll also need to register any money you bring into the country at the bank, which will in turn guarantee repatriation of the funds when you sell. Speightstown on the west coast was the first port and commercial centre in Barbados, but when the sugarcane trade went into decline, so did Speightstown. But nowadays the town is enjoying a bit of a revival, fuelled by the popularity of the area with foreign house buyers. In fact, the west coast of Barbados has some of the most expensive property in the Caribbean, with villas selling for millions, and the market shows no sign of losing momentum.
The last 5 or 6 years has been very exciting. We've had a tremendous growth in values here, and that's been followed up by new projects coming on stream, and prices have been steadily rising.
You'll find many properties on offer along the west coast that are part of so-called lifestyle communities, gated developments built around a central recreational facility. One of the best known is Sugar Hill, a plush 50-acre site with individually designed homes and professional tennis facilities. 2-bedroom condos there cost from around £350,000. Port St Charles near Speightstown is a lifestyle community based around a marina. A 3-bed, 3-bath beachfront villa there sells for around £1.7 million. If you do opt for a property in a development, keep in mind that management charges on Barbados tend to be high. And if you buy a beachfront property, don't expect exclusive access to the sands. All beaches in Barbados are public. Although agents on the island report that people buying here are getting younger, retiring on Barbados is still popular. And the lifestyle community theme is now being marketed to the over 55s with a Barbados project called a Continuing Care Retirement Community. In essence, this means that you agree to share a percentage of your property's appreciation, and in return you get help with long-term healthcare costs and property maintenance, as well as having access to on-site leisure and medical facilities. An alternative to new build developments is to buy a period property. They don't come on the market very often and are expensive when they do. This one, for example, on the northwest of the island has 3 bedrooms and is set on about 5 acres of landscape garden. It comes with a pool and a 1-bedroom guest cottage and is on sale for a cool £2 million. Now that's obviously a lot of money, but the agents estimate that you could rent this pile for around £4,500 a month. The buoyant rental market makes West Coast Barbados an attractive place to invest, if you have the capital. Rental returns in excess of 10% a year are possible. Upscale beachside villas can command enormous weekly rents, but there's a greater demand amongst holidaymakers for 2- and 3-bedroom apartments. This hotel, halfway up the west coast at Holetown, has been converted into apartments, and the agent reckons that a 2-bedroom place here can be rented out for around £450 a night in high season. That's got to be worth a look. Right, what have we got here? I'm told this is a 2-bedroom, 2-bathroom apartment, and immediately I can see it's what I'd expect from Barbados. Really high specification finish, excellent build quality, and a spacious apartment, which in a hot climate is important. Now, this complex is based in Holetown. Holetown, to me, is one of the better villages on the west coast. It's got all the amenities you'd want, and should you choose to, you can go half an hour to the top or the bottom of the island, and you're about the same distance from the airport. It's a fantastic location. This is the master bedroom, and it's a big one at that. You've got an ensuite and you've got a dressing room. Now, the other room isn't quite so big, but it's still very spacious. The property comes furnished, and if you want to, you can opt into the rental scheme. They charge about 20%, which is typical for the islands, and the best thing about it is you can do as many or as few weeks as you like. This is a big property at 160 square metres, and it will set you back around £775,000. What you're paying for is the location. It is right on the beach. And if you really wanted to, you could probably get the property for up to 50% less if you bought it inland, but you wouldn't have this view. Coming up, affordable Barbados real estate and a volcanic island that's about to explode on the property scene.